Oof.
Hey everyone, welcome to Plug Talk Sports live show episode 168 is the first episode of the brand new year. So happy new year to everyone. Happy 2025. So we got myself, Danny Torres, we got Janka, and we've got both Brandons in the house tonight. Both Brandons. Last time it was a little confusing. Every time someone said Brandon,
Right.
like, yep, I'm here.
Right. Which one is it? Which Brandon?
But anyways, happy New Year's to everybody once again. We're not going to go through our usual routine of starting off the show just because we got two important topics, only two important topics tonight. But I feel two important topics that will take a little bit of time to discuss and that they're very important to talk about. So without further ado, let's get into business. And I will bring up topic number one, and I'll kind of give you guys a little bit of a timeline on how these things occurred. So, number one, we're talking about Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. So, just a little bit of a history. Jimmy joined the Miami Heat in 2019 from the Philadelphia 76ers as a free agent. That was right after the Heat were involved in the 4-team trade that sent Whiteside to the Trailblazers. And we got Myers Leonard in return. Mo Harkless, I believe, went to the Clippers. So Jimmy was interested in free agency right off the bat, day one, said he wanted to play for the Heat. And that was that. And then the very next year, 2020, leads the Heat in the bubble due to COVID-19 at Walt Disney World Resort, leads the Heat to the NBA Finals to play LeBron and the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think this is really where the Heat fan base just started to fall in love with Jimmy. That man in that series was the reason why the Heat went all the way 6 games and was absolutely exhausted. The man could not walk after that series. And then we take it to 2023, where I think this made the fan base love Jimmy even more, where he just went through the Milwaukee Bucks, New York Knicks, Boston Celtics, sorry, Brandon, as an 8th seed and gets to the NBA Finals to play the juggernaut Denver Nuggets. But at this point in the finals, Jimmy looked hurt. It looked like he really couldn't move much, and he was just out there because he's a dog. And that's really why he was out there. I don't really think that he could play. They lost that one in 5 games. And, of course, last year he was out with an injury in the first round, didn't play against the Boston Celtics. Congratulations, Brandon. This is where it got dicey. After that series, Pat Riley, in his press conference that he usually has after the season, did not like that Butler was chirping at the Celtics in that first round, even though he wasn't playing. And Pat Riley said that he should just shut his mouth and pretty much just focus on basketball and shut his mouth. And they also said in that press conference that he was not going to get his extension because they needed to see what Jimmy was going to do this year. He needed Jimmy to play more regular season games than what he has been giving throughout the regular season. Jimmy did not take that too lightly. To to his defense, I think Jimmy feels like the Heat did not put pieces around him that would help him win a championship. He really wanted the Heat to go after Damian Lillard, and obviously the Heat did not end up with Damian Lillard. And I think that's one of the frustrations for Jimmy. And then this is where it just gets really downhill from there. And this is recent, where after a loss, it was last week to the Indiana Pacers, Jimmy said that he's very happy off the court here in Miami, but he wants to find his joy in playing basketball again. And I think it was Tim Reynolds who followed up and asked, do you think that will be here in Miami?
It was Tim Reynolds.
Yeah, it was Tim Reynolds. And he said, probably not. And everyone just went berserk and ballistic after he said that. And then the Heat follow up with like, oh, okay, you're going to go out in the media and say that? And this is after the Heat fans are a little upset that in that game against the Pacers, it seemed like Jimmy really wasn't trying and was kind of isolated and separate from his teammates. He was out there taking one-legged fadeaway three-point shots, just kind of throwing the ball up. And the Heat decided to suspend Jimmy for 7 games. He tried to go to the Players Association and complain about the suspension, that it was unfair. And where we stand right now is the Heat, throughout this 7-game suspension, is trying to find a team to trade him to. And it's been made clear if they cannot find a team to trade him to throughout the 7-game suspension, Jimmy will be back on the court in a Heat uniform after the 7-game suspension if they cannot find a team to trade him to. How that will work, I don't know. I personally don't think I will see Jimmy in a Heat uniform on the court again. I think we saw him in that jersey against the Pacers for the very last time. So that was just a kind of timeline of events of how we got here. The floor is open, guys. Take a crack at it.
Well, honestly, I think that when you look at the whole situation, though, and again, Jimmy Butler, obviously one of the many Heat legends out there, but for Pat Riley and the crew in the front office, where you have the situation where, I think it's the past keeping up now with the front office, where those Tyler Johnson $60 million 3-year contracts are now catching up. The Justice Winslow stuff is catching up. The Josh Richardson, all that stuff is catching up right now, where you have a situation where if you keep Jimmy on, you're not going to be able to even find another person, let alone, because I understand one of the main issues was not able to get another star. Damian Lillard potentially going to the Miami Heat, had to be some sort of sign and trade, unable to even do that, Pat Riley in the Miami Heat. So Jimmy Butler, you try to re-sign him after this year, and what happens next? The bench is gone. Who knows exactly how much you can keep on up with not only his contract, but as well Bam Adebayo looking over. I mean, honestly, bound to be a $200+ million man, the way the NBA's inflation has been recently. So this was something that was bound to happen, but Jimmy probably spoke about it first. Eric Spoelstra, you could see it on the court. The guy was put down in the corner. Tyler Hero giving more minutes. Duncan Robinson getting more usage from behind the arc. Jimmy was just kept to the side, and this is finally when the media is starting to pay attention to it because he's starting to speak about it. But in the sense of his love of the game, though, I don't know. He's going towards his late 30s. Everyone loses at some point, Is it going to be because, Eric Spoelstra is not putting much in the offense? Well, in reality, he hasn't been playing that much well because he hasn't had the ball in his hands. And it's going to be at that time where, he's going to be kind of on the end of his ropes. If he gets traded, next 2 years, he won't be in the league. And you can put a guaranteed lock on that. I believe from Jimmy Butler's standpoint, and honestly, the comments make really well because he has Big Face Coffee, which, of course, happened in the Miami Design District. Great stuff. I know some of us on our own panel have tried it before.
Yeah.
So he still has ties to Miami, even though he may not have that long-term on the court. But frankly, this was just the line in the sand that I don't know how everyone missed. This guy will not come back next year. The Heat, even though they want him here, they just can't have him back next year. He's going to be too much I think, and of course, we're going to probably discuss this later down the line, the trade scenarios that could happen for Miami, especially in the money wise of where exactly cap wise they might fit in. So a few teams, especially in the Western Conference, might be favorites for that. That might be the best shot for Butler and a contender in the West. But his time at South Beach, I think, is just over because his career is near that end. And I don't know if Pat Riley wants to pay another hefty contract just to keep a guy in a Heat jersey.
I find all this funny, really, because remember, we're going back. Let's say two off seasons ago, everybody wanted Tyler Hero out. Everybody was pointing the finger. Oh, Tyler Hero's got to go. Tyler Hero's got to go. If you looked at the age gap between Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero, the Heat are obviously going to want to keep Tyler Hero. When I heard Jimmy Butler say he's trying to find his quote unquote joy on the basketball court. Listen, if you're making 49, and I could be totally wrong here, but if you're making $49.5 million, my man, how in the world are you going to sit there in front of journalists, which we all know when you're first starting out, you're not making $2, $3, $4 million, right? So when you go out there and you say to us that you're trying to find the joy, you're making $49.5 million. As soon as I heard that, my respect for Jimmy Butler was already low, but after saying a comment like that, and it's an obvious distraction. I like to touch off what Danny was saying, and Brandon as well. I think even when the 7-game suspension is over, why would you want him to even come back? I think it's going to be an absolute distraction. Every night during pregame warm-ups, everybody's going to look at Jimmy Butler and see his behavior, see what he's doing, which I'm glad we're also going to talk about our second topic tonight in Hill, because they're both, so.
Man, I've been saying that this team has been having some issues for the past couple of years. I think the internal issues, the player issues, the staff issues are now, like Brandon said, they're rising. They're showing their true colors. I'm not liking this as much as I love my Heat. It's getting too hot in the arena, bro. I'm gonna say it.
No, go ahead.
Like what you said, bro. Like saying that you need to find the joy in play, and you're making $49 million. You live in a state with no income taxes. You live in South Florida, Miami, especially, where the weather's beautiful mostly every day, except for the rains. Like, you live in a beautiful mansion. You have the best life. I don't understand what you can be complaining about. If you're making $49 million, you're the best player on your team. You're the so-called leader, and then you show this kind of attitude. You show this amount of contempt towards your bosses, and kind of disrespecting the fans for having showing that kind of demeanor on the court, especially that they're coming paying to see you. I don't know. I just felt like that was kind of disrespectful, the way how it's been handled. But on the other side, Pat Riley and the staff and Spoelstra haven't really done him right by getting him pieces. Now, obviously, like Daniel said, in the finals, we didn't have our pieces really. Jimmy was hurt. Tyler Hero wasn't really available. Bam and Dragic were hurt in 2020. This could be a completely different story if we had won one of those two finals.
I think that finals run when they played Denver, I think Tyler Hero was out, right?
Yeah, he was rumored to play in a Game 6, but it never got to that point.
Right. And Denver was just way too talented. Jokic, Aaron Gordon. There was no way that Heat team was gonna. You see, Denver beat us in what, 5 games? There was no way that the Heat were gonna take that team 6, even 7 games. There was no way.
Especially but in the finals in 2020 against the Lakers, we were, even though obviously we could have taken that series 7 games if we had Adebayo and Dragic.
I agree.
But we were still too small And then 3 years later, we go and we play the Nuggets, and we're still small. We don't address a single one of the issues. And then we expect Jimmy Butler to, like, I don't know, like, go Super Saiyan and then just take over the entire game. I don't know. It's just the same. It's just like we pick up role players, not star players, and then we expect these role players to behave like superstars and play like superstars, and then we complain, and then we lose, and then we're back to talk the same exact topic every offseason.
I mean, I would also say just quit Brandon. I would say the Heat are in a very tough conference this year, especially the Boston Celtics. I mean, we've seen what they've been doing all season long. The Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, so even if the Heat do make the playoffs this season, whether Jimmy Butler is here or not, I mean, do we really see them making another finals run? I think the Heat are a long, long way away from, reaching to that 2020 and then obviously that 2023 run. I think, but like we've all been saying, this whole Jimmy Butler thing is it's just mind-boggling to me.
No, exactly. But I was going to add on as well, though, because that Jonka said role players and keep on running it. I think that's got to be another thing that added on to the fire here, especially with Pat Riley, where it's the ignorance of, we made it to the finals. We made it to the Eastern Conference Finals with this roster. Let's keep this roster together. Let's not add pieces. And again, for me, I mean, you guys know that years past when, of course, the Heat, Celtics, Eastern Conference Finals rivalries were going on, and I kept on saying the same thing. It's not going to be entertaining finals. You guys are going to have the same roster, and everyone's going to be like, this is okay to have because we made it to this part of the season. We made it this deep in a playoff run, and whether that be because of Pat Riley, whoever else, Eric Spoelstra, maybe I forgot who the big man is, a.k.a. really big man. I believe I forgot one of the glasses, ball picture. But besides that, just the overall front office, the inaccuracy of the trajectory of exactly where this Heat team can go with the roster they currently had with a Max Strus and keeping a Gabe Vincent and then inevitably letting those guys walk away at the end and not even getting even a player decent enough for an all-star vote to add on, unless you want to call Kevin Love 10 years late. But I mean, John, as you said before, though, it's the going to the finals. You don't have enough firepower, and you just have Butler expecting to be, Mr. Do-It-All for 48 minutes. It's insanity. And honestly, another reason I would have to add on for why Butler wants to leave. Celtics got themselves Drew, Porzingis, and I guess the Heat got a good draft pick in Kellyan Ware. That's about it.
Who still has to do? It's going to take him at least 4 or 5 years before he's fully ready to go. Really,
at least, absolutely.
So we ran a poll on our socials, and the options on the poll, the question was, whose fault do you think this is? And the options were Jimmy Butler, Pat Riley, both, or neither. 60% of our voters voted that this is both of their faults. Would you guys agree with that?
Absolutely not.
I voted both.
Look, I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. Jimmy Butler is just on the court, okay? He's just on the court. He's not making decisions around the organization. He's not like a GM LeBron. He's just on the court doing his job. Now, also, another thing that I would mention, because from that Starting Five docuseries that they had on the NBA, specific players, and Jimmy Butler, of course, one of them, the fact that his dad died on a West Coast road trip, he knew being on a plane traveling back to Miami, I believe, on one of their last 3-game West Coast road trips. And it wasn't a, Pat spoke, can I stay? I've got personal reasons. Like if Kawhi Leonard can have a half a season off just for vacation, you're trying to tell me you can't have Jimmy Butler off for 3 days. You know what I mean? So for Pat, and again, at least 1/5 of the NBA is decorated with his awards. But for Pat Riley not to get out of his own way and just let Jimmy Butler at least on the sense of not only do the stuff he does off the court, be himself in his own offense. Eric Spoelstra has definitely switched that up this season. But now it's to a point where it's affected his family. I mean, Pat Riley himself has put this Heat team in a hole. And not only from the Butler situation, but again, we discussed this for the past 20 minutes already on this show to open up. On the past half decade, it's been such a weird ride for the Heat, and Pat Riley has made it to a point where, it's like they're in purgatory at this point. So I think Pat Riley's full at fault at this. It's just Jimmy Butler's just yelling out before he gets, brought it over to the rope to hang over, because they're basically doing that to his career right now. They're not going to give him that big contract at the end of the year, no matter if these comments came out. And that's what I truly believe.
But couldn't we also say that they didn't give Jimmy, the full max extension? Because how many games did Jimmy Butler play last year? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not – I mean, like, nowadays, most NBA players, this quote-unquote load management, where they'll maybe play 3-4 games and then they'll sit out 2 or 3, or then they'll play on a week stretch and then sit out the other week. Like, I could be wrong here, but I don't think Jimmy Butler played all 82 games last season. So that could also be a reason as to why Pat Riley was never going to give Jimmy Butler the max extension. And then to get hurt come playoff time, and then on top of that, open your mouth saying, "Oh, well, if I was playing, the Knicks would have been sent home." Oh no, he said, "I'll do it better." He said the Knicks would have damn sure been sent home. Like, that's what he did. So he was full confident that if I was in the lineup, which he obviously wasn't, that he would be damn sure that the New York Knicks would have been sent home, the Boston Celtics would have been home. So that obviously tipped off Heat management a lot. And I would honestly lean more towards blaming Jimmy Butler more than Pat Riley, because at the end of the day, I side with Pat Riley 1,000%. If you're not out there playing basketball, you should keep your mouth shut. Like, you weren't available. And again, like you and I have been talking about, he had a great bubble run. Yes, we get it. But at the end of the day, when you look at the Jimmy Butler era as a whole, 0 championships. So like that's what everybody's going to talk about. Like, sure, Eastern Conference championships are cool, hats and but at the end of the day, for as great as Jimmy Butler is, I mean, you said it best, Brandon. Like, age is catching up to him, and so
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like the same thing where how they've handled the staff and the player development, and just player acquisition hasn't been up to par. And then obviously Jimmy Butler's side, he hasn't really. I mean, before I was going to say something kind of like really controversial, but
you gotta be really careful on here, because Heat fans will blow you up.
The word I was going to use was not appropriate, like not like in a bad way, but like that wasn't the correct usage. How I would have to say the way he hasn't handled it, the way it should have after his past couple teams he's been on, where it hasn't been really professional. And so now you're in the Heat now. You've went to 2 finals, where in all your other teams, you weren't in the finals ever. I mean, you're getting paid $49 million. Again, you have a $52 million player option this coming season,
which he could definitely opt into.
100%. But at the same time, you're getting paid that money. Pat Riley's your boss. No matter if, ands, or buts, he's your boss. Like, if you have a job, you better do your job. Especially that if you're the highest paid employee in the company, on the team, you're supposed to produce. And we've seen for the past couple seasons where he just acts lackadaisical, plays games, different hairstyles at photo shoots, like different commercials in the middle of seasons. But then, like, we always show up in the play-in tournament about to get eliminated in the second play-in game. Like, I'm getting really like that. That's issues with like that where if I were in Pat Riley's shoes, I have issues.
The only place where I'm getting tired with Pat Riley Heat management is trying to force undrafted players to be superstars and continuing to go down. Look, I'm all for Heat culture and all this stuff, but obviously in the past couple years, yes, we've made the finals twice, but at the end of the day, it's about winning championships, and we haven't been able to do that. And it's evident that someone like Haywood Highsmith, Caleb Martin, like, they can't get it done when you're playing against a team with guys who've got NBA experience and have experience in the playoffs and the finals. That's my problem with Heat management. My problem with Jimmy Butler is if I'm an NBA executive of a team, And, now you're seeing this whole situation unfold with Miami, right? And you need a piece. You need to go out and get a piece. I'm going to scratch my head and say, well, if I'm really desperate, I'll go for Jimmy. But if I'm not that desperate, should I pick him up? Is the headache really worth it? Because when he wants out, he'll just create drama and distractions to your team, because he has done it on every single team he has been a part of. And do you really want that headache? Is that headache really worth the money? So right now, he's not helping his case. If he wants to be traded to a team, and especially a contender, and he wants to get paid well, those teams are probably thinking, well, is he really worth the money with all the headaches he's going to put us through when he doesn't get things his way and he wants to bail?
Yeah, I can't.
Age is just catching up. I'm not saying Jimmy Butler is a bad basketball player, but yeah. The Heat have proven already that they can win without Jimmy Butler. I mean, whether they have Jimmy Butler or not, this team, like I said, is like they're not going to the finals. They're probably not even going to the Eastern Conference Finals. So it's like trade him, get some draft picks. I mean, start over if you really have to. The Heat haven't even won a championship since the Big Three. So, I mean,
do you guys think that the Heat fans, whether it's in a Heat uniform again or in another team's uniform, do you think Heat fans boo him?
Yes. They already – did you guys see that mural already?
Yeah.
They're already watching Trader and – dude, but that's South Florida fans as a whole. We have the most fickle fan base, and I'm sure it's like that everywhere else. But if the Heat aren't winning, if the Marlins aren't winning, if the Dolphins aren't winning, if the Panthers aren't winning – I mean, that's what you're going to get. And if you do stuff like this, well, absolutely, if he gets traded and comes back to the Heat's house next season, Heat Nation will definitely, but absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I can also see this situation as like a bluff by Jimmy Butler, where he's making this scene because he knows there's not really anybody out there that's available at the moment. He's waiting for the offseason and like, okay, listen, I'm going to opt out, right? Become a free agent, unrestricted.
Right.
Now that he have that cap, that open cap. Now they can find somebody. All right, okay, they got this guy. You know what? I'll take a pay cut. Join the Heat back. Now we can run something. Is that a possible play? Is this all for show just so that he could force the Heat's hand into getting somebody?
It's technically a possible play.
I've thought about it. I have thought about it.
There's no way. No, Jimmy wanted his money. The next guy that we're going to be talking about soon, it's same thing. Like, he got his money. Like,
if he's making $49 million now and he's hardly even playing or even trying in the regular season, if a star were to come in, right, and help him, take off the load a bit, and he has to do a little bit less work, and he'll be more efficient, why should we still have to pay him for basically $50 million?
But the thing is, though, is that this is a man that is about 34 to 35% of your cap, basically. This is like the biggest piece of the puzzle of the roster. If he does decide to do that, and then so what happens, though? So you get two guys, big names. Let's say it's, again, just putting a name out there. Let's say like a Brandon Ingram or something like crazy like that or something like that. So Brandon Ingram, Jimmy Butler, affordable, but does that push the needle, right? We're talking about a whole roster here. Now, what I would say, though, because I think that, again, I agree with Brandon as well, the fan base here in Miami is very, very, very pins and needles.
Very
pins and needles. A lot of varies times the infinity. But I'll tell you what, though, like a team has a bad week or a bad game or whatever, and it's like, let's just get ready to blow the thing up. I don't think the Heat, even if Butler's on this roster or not following this year, they don't need to blow it up. I mean, you got yourself a young talent hero. Bam Adebayo regressing a little bit the past 2 years, but still give him some time. Maybe
he's
you
a good defensive player, and
great
he's
defensive.
young. He's still he hasn't even hit his top prime yet. Like he's
exactly
still young.
exactly that. And there's also still rumors as well. Let's say there is a trade, right? Again, I mentioned earlier preview of a Western Conference team being a huge target for the Miami Heat, trying to keep Jimmy out of the East. Maybe the Kings and De'Aaron Fox wants to make a move. Maybe you go out of your way and do get Pelicans, maybe even Ingram outside of that. Take a risk on Zion, maybe. I don't know. But I'm just saying.
The problem with Zion, though, is that he's not. I don't
Injury
think he's in playing
Yeah,
shape.
it's not. But again, hypotheticals, only
Right.
hypotheticals.
All right.
Like SEC games. I love hypotheticals. So
I personally would love to see Zion. Everybody knows that I'm the Zion guy.
So on that note, Jonka, to be our last touching point on this subject before we move on to the next one, where do you guys think Jimmy gets traded or ends up? There's a couple teams here I'll read. So Memphis Grizzlies, Sacramento Kings, San Antonio Spurs, and honorable mention Golden State Warriors and Phoenix Suns. Houston's even been into the mix. Where do you guys think he ends up?
I'm gonna give you 3 options. It's the winners, the losers, and the wild card for the Miami Heat. The winner would be Golden State because that means you can bring in potentially an Andrew Wiggins or Kuminga, which is a 16 to 15 points per game scorer, as well as someone efficient enough to be playing as an offensive rebound guy and maybe help out Bam a little bit down low. The loser scenario in this, you go out of your way to Memphis and you give a team like the Grizzlies a John Morant, Jackson, Butler roster, while in return, most likely, I mean, maybe the best part of a package would be Marcus Smart. And Marcus Smart in a Heat jersey, I don't know if I want to see that. I don't know if a lot of Heat fans.
I don't know if Heat Nation wants to see that. And
exactly, that's what I'm saying. So the biggest loss.
I don't know if those Marcus Smart jerseys will be selling very well at the Josiah Center.
Exactly. It would be sick to my stomach to see that. But the wild card that I thought about not too long ago, I don't know how it would work out. I don't know how money-wise will work out. I just think it'll be hilarious if it did work out. What if there's like the Clippers know that they got Kawhi back for the rest of the year? They're going to still figure it out right now. James Harden's been playing pretty good basketball. What if he lets, Kai Jones is a little bit of a wild card. I don't think we're going to have Kyle Jones for a long playoff route on the Clippers. What if we get rid of Kyle Jones, try to figure out some draft capital, another guy, and we have Butler, Norman Powell, Kawhi Leonard, and of course James Harden on the same starting 5 with Zubats.
Wait, but hold on. You want
Sounds good.
You want Jimmy Butler and James Harden, 2 crybabies on the same team?
It would be the most, again, hypothetical.
I mean, you talk about must-watch
brand of basketball.
Like, I'm getting 3 hours of sleep before going into work the next day because I want to watch that James Harden and Jimmy Butler combo. Oh my goodness!
The best on show in NBA League Pass if it happens.
I will stay up, get 2 hours of sleep, walk like a zombie to work the next day just to watch that.
I'm telling you, great wild card team. Probably not going to happen, but those are the 3 I like.
Okay.
Well, Brandon, so I did hear, I think Barry Jackson was the one who put it out. And again, Barry does a phenomenal job. Shout out, Barry. I believe the Golden State Warriors were not interested in Jimmy Butler. I think that, right? I could have sworn I saw that report a couple of days ago. But really, I mean, another wild card team, Brandon, to touch off your point, what about the Sacramento Kings? I mean, they're a young developing team. Now, again, if let's say the Heat do a pick swap and trade De'Aaron Fox, I mean, the Kings trade Fox to the Heat and the Kings get Butler. But the real question is, instead of which team Jimmy Butler's going to go to, let's say he is gone, assuming he is, what compensation are the Heat going to get? Because Jimmy Butler, like we've all said, he's in his 30s. I mean, do I think the Heat get 4 first-round picks? No. But I will be curious to see if they get multiple players, if they get maybe more than one draft pick. So I'm really curious to see how this whole thing pans out.
Jonka?
It just goes back to that.
Jonka is just stunned. Like he doesn't. Jonka is thinking about his Jimmy Butler jersey that he bought 2 years ago.
No,
He gotta make really big decisions soon.
it's just hard, bro, because it's just like there isn't really any money available. So that's for that reason. I just don't think he's gonna get traded, and I think he's gonna become a free agent in the offseason. Just because I don't see anything working out for the Heat as like a package. Maybe 3-4 teams can work it out, but that's a stretch within like less than a month. So
I say that or Sacramento. And to close off, Brandon, I did think about this, and I thought about you when I thought about this. Jimmy Butler's petty. Do you imagine Jimmy says, "All right, screw Miami, I'm going to Boston"?
Oh, Joe Mazzulla would hate him. He would despise him. But
I thought about it.
Look, I think it's an idea. The thing is, though, is that if that was to happen, Brad Stevens, general manager Brad Stevens, president of operations Brad Stevens, would have to go out of his way and say, do I want to get rid of guys like Payton Pritchard off the bench? And for some reason, I don't understand why it happens, but every single year, Pritchard, even yelling at Brad Stevens, I'm ready to get traded, never lets him go. So I bet you there'll be a package like, I want Pritchard. Yeah, get the hell out of here. That would never happen.
So now it's time to talk about the other suspect.
I've been waiting for this since
yesterday afternoon. You've been waiting for this.
Yesterday, 8 p.m.
No. God damn it, no.
I've been waiting 1 hour. No, actually half an hour to finally put this up there.
So, if you guys don't know already, we're talking about Tyreek Hill. The Dolphins lose to the Jets. They're not going to the playoffs. They weren't going to go anyways because even if they did win, the Broncos were blowing out the Chiefs.
The Broncos won?
They were blowing out the Chiefs. And Tyreek Hill, after the game, said, "Yeah, I'm out." That's literally, "I'm out."
Look, look. I brought the from last night's press conference. I printed it out. I was ready because I was ready for it tonight. I was ready. I was ready to go. I wanted to read the full quote from the top to the bottom.
He said, "Peace, deuces," changed his whole Twitter X profile to Antonio Brown with the peace sign. Then Mike McDaniel tries to cover it up. He says, "Oh, we shouldn't have let him talk because he was just frustrated. He didn't want to talk. He personally didn't want to talk, but, he had to." So, guys, yeah, I think Tyreek is done in Miami. I think he's gone. And, thank you, Tyreek, for the last 3 or 4 years. But he's done.
Well, I mean, here's like the frustrating part about all this. I think Tyreek Hill said those comments yesterday because he knows that he didn't have his quarterback Tua Tagovailoa for 6 games this season. And remember, the 6 games that Tua missed, those are the most games since being drafted by the Dolphins in April of 2020 that Tua has missed. And here we are where the Dolphins give Tua a huge amount of money this past offseason when – was it the first day of training camp when
first or third? Yep.
Right. When fans were allowed and Tua grabs his mic and he goes, "Show me the whatever." What did he say? It was like, "Show me
the money."
And it's like, here we are again where he can't stay healthy because he had one good season in 4 years. I mean, I guarantee you, if Tua missed 1 game this year, 2 even, Tyreek Hill would have never came out with those comments. But he knew that he had to work with a backup quarterback in 6 games out of 17 this season. Like, yeah, if I'm getting paid the money that Tyreek Hill's getting paid, and I don't even have my true number one, and I haven't won a playoff game in over 20 years, like, yeah, I'm going to be pretty freaking frustrated too. Do I think Tyreek Hill is out of Miami? I don't know, because when he says something like that, that could just be a boatload of frustration after you just had a loss that, like Daniel said, had the Dolphins would have won yesterday, it would have been irrelevant anyway because Denver smacked the Chiefs 38-0. But it's like when you say those kind of comments too, like I don't think Chris Greer, Mike McDaniel, who are coming back next season, by the way, I know Dolphins fans were exploding last night when Stephen Ross came out with that long statement. But I don't think that's going to sit well with management, like those comments that he made. And then the unprofessionalism that Hill showed towards Chris Perkins and David Furones and all this, the wonderful South Florida beat writers who do a great job in covering the Dolphins. It's like, I think, like if you go back and watch that presser, I think that was the most embarrassing, disrespectful, like Tyreek Hill had zero interest in talking to anybody yesterday. So I like those comments. I'm not going to worry about it yet, but I mean, if again, he's been here for 3 years, we know him. He's a major troll. We see it on Twitter, excuse me. But yeah, I mean, like if you don't have Tua for 6 games, and we can talk about Tua a whole nother day, but yeah, I mean, not having him for 6 of 17 it hurts. I mean, like I have like the stats here. He had 6 receiving touchdowns this year. The last time that he had 6 receiving touchdowns, his rookie season with the Kansas City Chiefs. That's all the way back in 2016. He had 959 receiving yards. That's the least amount since he had 593 back in his rookie season as well. So this is a Tyreek Hill that we haven't seen in a while. But this is also what happens when you pay your quarterback and you pay Tyreek Hill a boatload of money, and then this circus act happens.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I agree on just about every single thing. Pin right there on the point. You know, I think that if you have Tua playing a majority of this season, it's going to be a whole different story. I mean, and also, as you said before, since his rookie season receiving touchdowns, it's only the 3rd time in his career that he's had less than 1,000 yards receiving through the air raid. So this is obviously a new world for Tyreek, who hasn't really have to dealt with an inconsistency at quarterback. And I think another thing that really puts, especially on this season alone, we saw more of Mike McDaniel's offense and Frank Smith, who should be gone as the OC. We've seen more of, Achane getting more usage on snaps. Jonnu Smith, star-studded season. Incredible. I mean, got himself, franchise lore right now at the tight end position with receiving touchdowns, receptions, and receiving yards, leading all that in the franchise. But Tyreek, I think it's the first time ever in his career where he's not wide receiver or option number 1 on the offense. Whether Huntley was on there, Skylar, or even Tua this year. I mean, besides week 1, I can't even tell you a moment where Tyreek was the guy receiver throughout the year. So I believe, and also just going into Sunday's loss, that on top of losing like that in New York, you're not playing for anything. But the fact that in the organization, because according to some people, reports to Cameron Wolf of NFL Network, people in the building of the organization said they're not happy with Tyreek Hill pulling himself out of yesterday's game versus the New York Jets. And as well, Omar Kelly of Miami Herald talking about that he was not in the mood to talk, but then Hill was encouraged to talk to the media. So this was just something just to say something, And again, it probably was the frustration, as you said before, Brandon, about him not having Tua throughout the entire season, not being targeted the way he has been through recent years. And first time missing the playoffs at, age 30, His career has been
but even when Hill was targeted, I mean, how many drops? And this goes back to even last season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Big time games: Sunday Night Football, Philly; Monday Night Football, Tennessee; Baltimore, New Year's Eve; Buffalo with the division on the line; a home playoff game. I mean, like that game will. I can't stop thinking about that game because that was Dolphins fans' moment right there. You had the division on the line, a home playoff game on the line. And like Mike McDaniel and Tyreek Hill and all these other guys do in big-time games, they choke. I mean, like it is what it is. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Tyreek Hill is not a top 10 NFL receiver. Of course he is. But what happened this season, obviously, like we said, Tua missing 6 games did not help. But even last season too, like a lot of people, they love to blast him, but they also forget to say this has been going on since last season. Like big-time games, Tyreek Hill's a different person. Like I've seen it. I go to a lot of these games. I see his attitude, his demeanor. Like, I mean, wide open. It can be a quick slant, and it's like the ball's in his hands, and it's like, I mean, again, here we are where the Dolphins, like we're talking about the Dolphins not making the playoffs this year because they lose meaningful games when Tua's out that he's supposed to be in. Like, and I understand any Dolphins fan that is frustrated right now because trust me, I am as well. And like, who knows what happens next? I mean, like, I obviously McDaniel and Greer staying, so Stephen Ross has their so like, what's next? Like, again, we can talk about Tua another day. We can talk about the head coach another day. But something's got to get fixed because they're going to lose a lot of fans.
Yeah, and again, a little off topic here, but I would add as well. They went on 2 3-game losing streaks. The first one, blowouts. The other one, within 1 possession games. And again, not even having Tua besides, of course, Arizona Cardinals game, which Aaron Brewer at fault. No reason to have that snap go beyond his head to a safety. But either way, a little off topic. But yes, I definitely do agree. Tua plays the whole season is a little bit different. But also Hill, I mean, he needs to just mature a little bit, though. Yeah, sure, you're not wide receiver run for a year. Big whoop.
But this has been going on. I mean, like the money that he took a pay. I mean, no, I'm sorry. He sat out. I believe, was it before training camp or he demanded more money. Like he demanded, right. That's what Tyreek Hill said. I mean, like accuracy wise, when Tua again, we can talk about Tua a whole other day, but just a real quick point. When Tua has a stable offensive line, and a lot of people don't know what that is, that means you have a solid left tackle, left guard, center, right tackle. When you have a solid offensive line, Tua is the most accurate quarterback in football. I'm sorry, we can argue with your left hand, argue with your water bottle. Like, I don't care. Tua with a stable offensive line is legit the most accurate quarterback in the league. Look at the numbers that Tyreek Hill put up last year when Tua plays the whole season. He was 201 yards away from 2,000? Like,
we can talk about Tua another day, like you said. Today's about Tyreek. I think Tyreek is a phenomenal player. I really do. Like you said, top in the league. But even since his days in the Chiefs, I've never liked his attitude. I think that he has a crappy attitude. We saw it in the way he treated those reporters. I mean, yes, people in the media can be sharks and could be a pest and whatnot, but they were just asking you some questions after the game. You know, I get the frustration, but just to walk out and just, not say anything, just walk out. I mean, I've never liked his attitude. I feel like he's a guy that's all about him. And not much else. And yeah, I think this is honestly worse than Jimmy Butler, because at least Jimmy Butler said, probably not. This guy straight up said, yeah, I'm out. And then continued it on social media.
Now, I don't know, though, if he said, like, again, now his words could get, like, absolutely, like, twisted. And he could say, I'm out, as in, I don't want to talk to the media anymore. Like, just to let everyone know, McDaniel and Greer do speak tomorrow, so maybe we'll get more clarity on it. I'm sure they're going to get asked about it a million times, to which they're probably not going to go into full detail because that's what they do during press conferences. They don't want to tell you what goes on behind closed doors, as they really shouldn't. So we don't know if he says, I'm out, as in I don't want to be a Dolphin anymore, or I just don't want to speak to the media.
Which is tough because they'll speak tomorrow, and from our experiences of working in this industry, coaches go out there and they'll give you a bunch of fluff and tell you, oh, he didn't really mean that, or like, oh, everything's fine, I expect him to be here next year. When in reality, sometimes that's not the truth. They're just giving you fluff because they're not going to bring more attention to what is already big headlines.
Right.
But yeah, Janka?
Bro, like, what do you want me to say, bro? I've been saying this like 2-3 years that I've been on this show, bro. It's the same loop, bro. It's the same loop. Brandon, Dolphins are gonna suck. Mike Haynes are gonna suck. The Cowboys have their up and downs. You know,
Oh, wait, I thought the Miami Hurricanes were supposed to make the college playoff this year. Come on.
exactly. There you go.
Come on. I mean, hey, that's what everybody was telling.
I didn't expect the defense.
I was the idiot. I was getting DMs that I'm a moron. I'm a total moron, an idiot. The Gators and this. I mean,
Brandon L, I have to back you up and say that Brandon H was one of those people that said, yeah, the Canes are going to be in the playoffs.
Hey, if it wasn't for the defense, I thought it was gonna be like a Lincoln Riley showcase. You know what I mean? Just blow teams out, put 40
shout
a game.
out to everyone on Twitter though who called me a moron and called me an idiot. Love y'all because that wow. I mean,
That's real fandom right there.
I mean, really, Pop-Tarts Bowl. Come on.
Hey, hell of a Pop-Tart Bowl. Also off topic. When the Pop-Tart Bowl in 50 years becomes one of the first rounds of the college football playoffs, I will be there on the sideline. I'll have like a crusty cinnamon, whatever, toast crunch Pop-Tart. I'll be eating it alive like Sebastian did. But
which to be honest, when he did that, I know this is off topic, but when he did that, to me, it looked kind of wrong, but whatever. John,
back to Tyreek.
Tyreek, who is that?
It's not looking good for him. Like, it's this whole organization. I don't know why. I've questioned Mike McDaniel this whole time. I've questioned the general manager. I've questioned Stephen Ross a trillion times. Tyreek Hill. I mean, I feel like it was already written in stone. How we didn't see it when he got arrested in like the first couple of weeks in that issue, in that little entanglement outside the stadium. It was already like set in stone that this season was not going to work out for the Dolphins. like the last 24 seasons have, but or the last half century. Sorry about that, Brandon.
Both Brandons.
Both Brandon.
I'm a Dolphins fan.
Brandon's. Yeah, bro. I like besides you guys were talking about Tua being accurate and shit. Listen, I don't care about that rubbish, bro. Because
hold on. Wait a minute.
I've seen Joe Burrow with the trashiest O-line and the trashiest defense make the Super Bowl at least and not complain once, bro. Tyreek needs to shut the F up, play ball because he's played like dog water.
I have to agree that he has played awful. He
continues to play. All he wants is to have 70, 60-yard bombs down the field to make him look flashy, make him look fast, and make him look better than he actually isn't. Because I'll be honest, he's not looking that good to me. To be honest, that's me. If it isn't for Tua throwing underthrown bombs whenever they're like in a tight situation, just to get him out of the hole, then this team has not improved. Bubble screens for every other play. Brandon knows about that. There's no creativity on this team. Now, if he's frustrated about that, okay, maybe. But you're the one that signed the new contract this offseason. You signed it. You wanted it. Now, don't complain. We know that Patrick Mahomes is 100 trillion times better than Tua is. Tua has been the most injury-prone thing I've ever seen in my life, even in college. So you should have been expecting this before Tua came out the womb, that Tua was not going to work out. I don't know what he's complaining about now. The same thing with Jimmy Butler. You live in Miami. You make millions of dollars. No income taxes. Now, the only problem is you can't seem to pull out and you have like 10 baby mamas. And you keep asking for more and more money. Buddy, if you can't make it in Miami, bro, and complaining, where do you expect to end up? Apparently, the rumors are he's going to L.A. Buddy, if you expect to go to L.A. with the Chargers, get ready for some fat tax. Buddy, listen, this guy, I don't know what his problem is, but he needs to get it fixed now because I don't know what team is going to take him. And I would love to see him go to a team and succeed because, he's still a person. He's still a player, a human. But still, it would be funny to see him leave Miami in a trade and win a Super Bowl on the other team, which I would laugh because just laughing at the Dolphins' pain is like the best thing ever.
Well, it's a common denominator that when any Dolphins player, personnel, GM, ex-coach leaves, they do better somewhere else. I mean, it's
Van Ginkel.
I will never forgive Chris Greer for not re-signing Andrew Van Ginkel.
Van Ginkel, Connor Williams, Hunt.
Well,
Hell
Connor
of a
Williams,
job career.
Connor
Hell of a
Williams,
job.
I will say he was a little injury prone, and Robert Hunt was going to be very, very expensive and ask for a lot of money. So
Yeah.
that I will say, I know all this is completely off topic right now, but we need to set up an episode next time for just a Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer talk because I will bring my laptop to the Dolphins training facility and sit out there and stream so everyone can hear me.
I wish.
I'm just curious to see where this Dolphins project with Mike McDaniel goes from here on out, because I just see more of the same is going to keep on happening with Tua and Tyreek. It's just going to be more of the same, and nothing is going to happen. Nothing's going to evolve.
Look, I'm alone in this club. I'm pretty sure on this panel. But
yes, we know
y'all
Tua
know
is better than Tom Brady.
not Tua being better. I never said that. Let's calm down. I never said that. But in the sense of the Greer-McDaniel conundrum goes on, I have my issues with Chris Greer. I mean, again, the guy might as well retire. I don't know how long he's been with his organization, but it obviously hasn't worked well, this organization. But for Mike McDaniel himself, third season, it's his first ever losing season, and it came down to week 18 to be 8-9 with injuries up the wazoo the past few years. I give McDaniel a break in some point. Now, in the sense of disciplinary manner, like you go over and see like, hey, what's going on with Hill? Oh, he's unavailable right now. What the hell do you mean he's unavailable right now? We need
I
him.
think he's injured.
Yeah, I think he's injured.
It wasn't an injury. He said that. No, it wasn't. It wasn't a new injury, quote unquote.
Quote. Yeah. So on that point, I think it's McDaniel having to grow a little bit more. Again, this is his first ever head coaching job in the NFL. It's not going to be like, you're not going to have guys that are like Kyle Shanahan's where like it just like that snaps as quick as possible to a Super Bowl with a Brock Purdy or Jimmy Garoppolo, Mr. Irrelevance. For McDaniel, it's going to take some time progression, though. It's his third season. And again, still in a point where I'm saying he has a winning record, even through 3 years with the Miami Dolphins. They've been in the playoffs or in the playoff hunt every single year. They haven't been irrelevant, even despite missing, a star quarterback throughout the way or having to deal with injuries while facing primetime games where you have, a Baltimore, Bills, Chiefs to end off a year in 2023, of course. And now you have a sick schedule in 2025 where, according to rankings, of 471 win percentage compared to opponents. So 21st easiest, my apologies, hardest schedule in the NFL going into 2025. I give McDaniels the credit of the doubt that with a healthy roster, and I know I sound like a broken record, they will be fine with him. Greer, I'd be shocked to see the Dolphins and Mr. Ross continue with him past 5 years. And honestly, I feel like it would have to take for Greer to retire for that to be a change.
See, real quick here. So Chris Greer's coming back, and I know this because I know a lot of inside sources. Chris Greer's coming back because Ross and Greer just have a very tight bond that goes back when
they're fishing buddies.
That goes back when Mike Tannenbaum was here, right? But look at what Greer's done even this past off. I mean, we have to. I know a lot of people don't want to say it, but we have to give him some credit. He brought in Aaron Brewer, brought in Jordan Brooks, brought in Jonnu Smith. I mean, that's a nice free agency class.
It is a good
to the 2021 draft. Drafted Jalen Waddle. Yes, I know that the Dolphins traded the pick, and that if they didn't trade the pick, they probably could have gotten Jamar. Yes, okay, I get it. But Jalen Waddle, a healthy Jalen Waddle is a very dangerous Jalen Waddle. Like, all four of us can sit here and say that. Come on. If Jalen Waddle is healthy, and I know the word healthy is a tough word sometimes to say when you're talking about guys who play for us, but if a healthy Jalen Waddle is a dangerous Waddle. And they also drafted Jalen Phillips. So, again, a healthy Jalen Phillips coming off the edge is a very dangerous Jalen. Like, we have to give Chris Greer – yes, there's been a lot of misses, but there's also been hits. And, that's why me personally, I'm not shocked at all that Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel are both back next year. I'm not shocked. I mean, I know people aren't saying, "Oh my God, I'm gonna boycott outside the state." Why are you shocked? Stephen Ross threw McDaniel a game ball after the team won the game in week 16 when they weren't even at 500 yet. That right there should have lit a spark saying, wow, he clearly has a good relationship with the head coach. Why would he fire him? Like, I'm not shocked.
I'm sorry. I'm just still trying to get over the point that you're the head coach of the team. You're on the sideline, and someone asks you, "Hey, where's Tyreek?" Oh crap! I don't know. Where maybe he's hurt. Who knows? And then their player says in the post game interview, "No, I wasn't a knee injury." That's low key kind of embarrassing. I just wanted to say that. Brandon, you can go.
No, yeah, it is. It is, again, as I said before, it's kind of like, what the hell? Again, growing as a head coach, you need to be more disciplined. Now, and I mean, Brent, also to your point, though, I do have to admit, though, Greer has made some good ones, mostly in the draft, right? Christian Wilkins.
Who they let just
walk away. But that's where my point is as well. The draft class will be incredible, like Christian Wilkins, and you also have Chop coming in now, and then Phillips. But a majority of the guys brought in, they don't stay long-term, really, with the Miami Dolphins. After their rookie contract's up, maybe you give them a big contract like, of course, how Tua is right now. Or they walk away and there's nothing you can do about it. So that's my only issue right now with Chris. It's, again, great job getting a guy like Kendall Fuller. Maybe not panned out this year, but was a huge pickup during the offseason. Brooks turned out good. But then Jordan Poyer, right? Anthony Walker already dealing with injury stuff coming from New Orleans. It's a lot of those things. He's plugging in pieces with broken chips.
I will say Chris Greer loves to bring in guys during free agency that have been hurt through other teams, like multiple teams. Like, come on, we all kind of knew that Jordan Poyer was pretty much done, and that's why Buffalo let him walk, because Buffalo is a very good they're playing the playoffs on Saturday. So It's like they knew why now. Like, now I see why they let Jordan Poyer. At first I was like, wait, did they really let Jordan Poyer walk, who was literally with them last season? But now I get it.
Well, Jonka, you gonna finish your thought?
I'm gonna say this right now because I gotta leave it like this. All I know is my Patriots have beaten the Bills more than the Dolphins have in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, they had a great win the other week too.
Hey,
oh man!
Hey, it was a touchdown. Daniel even knows it. That should have been a touchdown. We should have won that game.
Yeah, you guys would have been the ninth draft pick for the upcoming year.
All we need is Will Campbell. I wanted Will Campbell.
Will Campbell.
On that note, guys, this has been a good one. This was really fun. Let's see what ends up happening with both Jimmy Butler and Tyreek Hill. Again, thank you guys for joining us on our first episode of the new year. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode for myself, Jonka, and both Brandons. We hope you have a great rest of your week. Have a good night, and we'll